We love cake so much we decided to make it a full-time business. For me, Sammy.
And me, Bronya.
Join us on our journey of discovery as we meet fellow cake professionals, artisan cake makers and home bakers who will give tips and advice on the Business of Cake Making podcast, glitter included.
Follow us on Instagram and listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Sign up to our newsletter and visit the blog at daisycakecompany.co.uk.
Today we are lucky enough to have Alice Benham, a business and marketing strategy expert who is not a stranger to a podcast herself, appearing on many, including one of my favourites, The Business Proposal, which is now called RE, the podcast. Alice has her own podcast, which goes out on a Tuesday, so it doesn't clash with ours on a Monday, called Starting the Conversation, sharing the unspoken sides of running a business and showing up online. She has a book coming out, which is very exciting, on June the 20th called The Digital Marketing Handbook. We're going to be talking about her book tour and book today, which is very nearly sold out, I've seen.
I feel like I need you to introduce
so Alice,
me.
hello, how are you?
Far more succinct than my usual ramble of, who knows what I usually say. I'm good, thank you. Very excited to be here. I love a co-hosted podcast, like you said, Ellie and Rachel doing theirs together. So always a joy to sit and have a chat to a couple of people as well.
Yeah. So can you tell me what being a marketing expert, involved?
Start with the backstory.
And how did you get to where you are today?
What I see my role as now. So I was definitely a bit of an accidental business owner. Definitely did not wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to start a business. And then, it kind of came to life. Although having now done this many years, I'm not sure how many stories I've heard that do actually look like that.
Yeah.
So I left school early. I was 16 years old, very bored of the school system, pretty good in terms of performance at school, but just didn't enjoy it at that point. It's getting a bit bored. So I left school for a job in events management, much to the kind of general lack of support from everyone around me. Very understandably, it was a slightly rogue decision, but I did that. Absolutely loved just getting stuck into kind of the world of work, and then met someone so random at a hotel breakfast who ran a charity. He offered me a freelance job in his team doing social media management. So I was 17 at the time. I think he probably just thought, young person, social media, she can do this. So always very grateful to him for taking.
Us old people do that. That's what we do when we're old. We go, youngster.
I like it though. I mean, if it wasn't for that assumption, I wouldn't be here today. So, he got me into his team. I didn't know what the term freelance meant until I realised I'd quit a full-time job for one that was only 1 day a week.
Wow.
Obviously paying me a lot less. And then suddenly someone said, you need to sign up with HMRC. And I was like, this sounds like I might be running a business now. Okay. That wasn't what I expected. So I was 17 at the time. All of the naivety of a 17-year-old, just threw myself in. The business grew quite quickly. I was doing social media management for quite a few different charities and companies, lots of kind of your bigger corporate feel of companies and charities, very different to who I work with now. But that kind of grew really quickly, a lot of learning, a lot of enthusiasm, but also a lot of, or a lack of, I should say, structure and balance. So after about a year, really burned out, as I know most people have that somewhere in their journeys. And then when I came back, I was like, I love marketing, but I don't want to do it for people. I want to kind of, I know it's an overused word, but I want to empower people with the knowledge to do it themselves. I really believe that you as the business are capable and best placed to market yourself, but understandably, there's going to be a knowledge gap. So that was when I kind of trained a bit more in the strategic side of marketing, and then started working as a marketing strategist. That must have been about 6 years ago now. And then at some point over these last few years have brought the business strategy side into it too. So I get to spend my days chatting with amazing business owners and basically just being an external perspective and go, hey, you're great at what you do. You've got all the expertise, all the personality, but let's just work out how you shape that into a plan. And ultimately my big thing is take action. I don't want people to have marketing strategies. I want them to take action in their marketing. It's been very accidental, but I couldn't imagine doing anything else now. It's a real privilege.
Amazing. So, I mean, like you say, most cake makers fall into it in a very similar way to you. You know, I would say the majority of cake makers that we speak to, they start by making a cake for their children, then their friends see it, then it's like the business grows, and then all of a sudden they have this business and they're like, they never plan to have a business. All they want to do is be in their kitchen making cakes, and all of a sudden they've got everything else that they've got to think about. So strategy sounds really businessy. What is a strategy, and what specifically is a marketing strategy?
I love that question, because I remember when I was first asked in this kind of boardroom kind of meeting room in central London, age 17, to create a marketing strategy. And I remember that word, the S word, just completely making me like crumble. I was like, I know what marketing is, I think, but like this word strategy just feels like it adds this level of overwhelming complexity and that I'm not qualified for. And I'm all for actually simplifying what a strategy is, because at its core, if you Google it, the word strategy just means a plan with an end goal in mind.
Excellent.
So even if you know, remembering that feels kind of tricky for people, even just calling it a plan instead of a strategy, it's just an action plan. Right. It's just, we are here, we want to get to there. How are we going to get between point A and point B? That's all a strategy is. And I think we really have to, and this is true for marketing strategy, but any wider business strategy, almost rip up the rule book that we all seem to have absorbed on what a strategy looks like. I've worked with people where they go, I've got a marketing strategy. And then they proceed to send me this 48-page PDF that, don't get me wrong, looks so shiny and in a way intimidates me, because I'm like, I'm not going to make that with you or for you. Yeah. But then ultimately when I say to them, okay, well, how's the action going? And they go, well, I haven't taken any. Then to me, it's like, well, the goal has been to make this complex, pretty looking strategy instead of the goal being action. You know, a strategy is just a vehicle to take action. So when we think of a marketing strategy, it's simply a plan of what you're going to do with your marketing. Sometimes that might be a few things on a Post-it note. Sometimes that might be a slightly fancier looking Excel spreadsheet that just outlines your platforms or your content pillars. There's no perfect template to fill out. And if there were, it wouldn't work for everyone. So yeah, really a marketing strategy is just a plan of what you're going to do and making sure that that plan at least slightly aligns with what you want to achieve. That's what makes it strategic, is just making sure we're not taking action for the sake of it.
Nice. Perfect.
I like that.
I'm so glad. Because it does feel so overwhelming, really, doesn't it? Just like you've said, no one really starts a business to run a business. No. You know, your brilliant community start a business because they're good at making cakes or they're really passionate about it. And it's like, I remember this realization for me really early on of like, oh, I started this business because I love doing this like one-to-one client work. That's about 20% of what I do. The 80% I didn't ask for, marketing manager, accounts manager, client, admin. You have to wear so many hats. And I think a lot of this for me is also just giving ourselves grace for that. Like, we didn't start businesses to be an expert in all these areas. It's totally fine.
What's happened to it? I suppose the benefit of your business is you don't have the cleaning as well. That's the downside of cake making.
I can imagine. And I have to say, I know you said there, Bonnie, a lot of people start their businesses because they make a cake and it's so great, everyone wants them to do one. I had a birthday recently and I was like, I'm going to make myself a cake because, I'm not going to expect someone to make me a cake. And I had this vision, like the heart ones that are very Pinteresty with like, I was like, got it. I was crying.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It was melting. I sent my partner out to get more icing. And I was like, I've never had such respect for people that make cakes. So I would just like to say, you guys might have felt like you were a natural, but there's definitely some skill set very clearly there because, I ain't got it.
Everyone's got their strengths. Everyone's got their strengths.
Exactly. So just in the same way that people might feel like they struggle with marketing, that's more natural to me, but then I couldn't make a cake to save my life. So but we've all got the areas of weakness.
Well, following on from that, how can we implement marketing into our businesses? Because there's so much that we can do.
When you say rubbish, I'm very so
rubbish
curious. What's the definition for you of that? What makes you say
that? Well, there's like all the social media and I just, at Christmas, we set ourselves a task to do all of
it's
this.
almost like
and I just
like
shut down, and I haven't done any since.
Sorry, the menopause moment, brain's gone. It's like this thing in your head, isn't it, Sammy? There's like, I think it's like the word marketing, advertising. You're just like jump, and it just closes your brain down a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah,
completely. And I think a lot of this work is also about letting ourselves struggle with it and realizing that that isn't a sign that we're not going to be able to do it, but is actually probably just a sign that it's new to us, and or we've got a bit of skin in the game. You know, if you really think about it, online marketing is a really weird thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, at its core, what we're doing is, but a client said to me the other day, actually, and I was like, that is a perfect analogy. She was like, I feel like I'm building my own stage and standing on it and plugging in my own microphone and shouting this message without anyone really asking me to do any of those things.
Yes.
And I was like, technically, you know, you don't practically have to do all of that, and you can hide from the embarrassment. But like, that is kind of what we're doing. When you're marketing your own business, you're being your own spokesperson. And understandably, there's a lot of vulnerability and fear, and, you know, whether it's the fear of what people think, or what if it doesn't work, or, you know, what's XYZ going to think, or blah, blah, blah. Is it going to be as good as this other person that I'm having in my head? Like, all of those feelings are so valid. And I think the first thing we've got to do is go, those feelings just show that I care and that I'm human, and not internalize them and go, oh, the feelings are there, therefore that means I need to stop doing this. You know, our brains are designed to keep us away from danger. Marketing is incredibly safe, but seems incredibly dangerous to our brain. Like, what's really going to happen if I post an Instagram reel and no one likes it?
Yes.
Nothing. But to our brains, it feels like, you know, a bear's going to come and eat it. But decipher that that's maybe not too intense. So I think that's the first step. And then I think in a more practical sense, it's sometimes really, really simplifying. Okay, what do I actually need in terms of a marketing plan? Because as I said, we can have the most sophisticated thing in the world, but if it's not being used, we may as well have spent that time, you know, resting or doing something else. And so I would really encourage people to just start with the question of, what am I actually trying to achieve? And be careful not to make that too overambitious. I am all for vision and ambition, but I actually think, especially when something feels quite sticky or quite new, the more realistic your goals are, the sooner you'll take action and achieve those goals. And then actually the sooner you'll be up for feeling about stretching next. So if you feel at the moment like you're doing nothing in terms of marketing, instead of looking at that person, I'm sure everyone's got it in their head, that is, you know, smashing it and on every platform and doing everything, instead of looking at them and thinking, well, if I start, that's what I need to start with. Think about just what the first step would be. So is it going, right, I'm going to ignore all the other platforms and I'm actually just going to build myself a website? That's my first step. And I'm going to focus in on that and get that done. Or maybe you've got a website and you think, right, I think I need to get on social media. Okay, what am I trying to do here? Maybe just my first step is to show more of my cakes and the process of making them. I really think we've got to look at, like, how we can kind of take those baby steps and not make it too overwhelming, because all of those fears and feelings are there. So the more overwhelming it is, the more those fears and feelings have space to kind of stop us from taking the action.
I know on your website you actually say that you encourage people to do the messy actions. And I when I read that really resonated, because it is sometimes having that plan is just wonderful. You know, you sit there and you go, right, I'm going to do this. This is where I want to. You write, you goal. You know, you do all the goal setting. And I know, because I had a cookbook published. I published a cookbook last year, and I remember thinking, at one point, I'm going to publish a cookbook. I'm going to do this cookbook. And then everyone kept saying, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And it wasn't until I was like, I actually need to do it. that was the point, is that this wonderful book was in my head, but I actually needed to get on and do the thing. And it's doing the thing that's actually quite difficult to like, it is that messy action. You need to get on and do it.
We were talking about that on our last episode, weren't we? About eating your frog.
Sometimes I think we do need those tough love moments, don't we? Of like, the only way this is going to happen is if I do it.
Exactly.
You know, it's so simple. But I'm, you know, you ladies, 15 years in, I'm 8 years in. There's still moments where I have to go, Alice, I don't know who you think is going to do this. Like,
exactly.
You either need to decide, do you not want to do it? In which case, talking about doing it. Or do you want to do it? In which case, let's work out how to get yourself doing it. Writing a book is a perfect example, isn't it? It just feels like this shiny big thing, and you have to actually go, I need to start putting words down. And I think, exactly as you said, that messy action is so key. And I do notice as well, I don't know if this will resonate for your listeners and your community, but often people whose businesses rely on perfection, i.e. making a cake, right? You've got to, and I know perfect doesn't exist, but you can't be too messy action making a cake, right? It's got to look good.
Yeah.
So actually it can be really hard for people whose businesses require them to be like that, to actually drop that mindset in other areas and go, when I'm making a cake, I need to be detail oriented. But actually then when I'm doing my marketing, I need to be all about this messiness and, progress over perfection, as they say. That is quite a hard shift.
Yeah.
I don't know if that resonates.
Definitely.
How you both found it.
Definitely. So you're very approachable in your business. Although it's like a very business thing you do, you're very approachable, out on your sort of like platforms. Everyone knows you. Everyone knows who you are. Even though you are very focused and very business minded, how can we bring a bit more of that into our own marketing? Because, we want to show us, don't we? And that's like the main thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the first step is always just looking at how can you share your current message in a more personal way. I think we assume personal brand or it being personal means it has to be, here's what I had for breakfast, or do you want to know what I'm doing on my holiday, or here's, contents of my bag. I don't know what else people would think to share, but like that's kind of step 2, which I'll talk about in a second, which you can do. But even just step 1 of going, right, what if instead of it just being a photo of what I've made, it was maybe a video with a voiceover where I'm talking people through it and bringing some of my personality into it, or even in the way that you type, type as you talk. It's so simple, but often we start typing and we think I'm a business, so I need to speak and act in a certain way.
And we use the we. Why do businesses always have to be we? Yeah.
Completely. It sounds like something like ChatGPT has turned out because it's so and formal. I think a good rule of thumb, and I always try and do this, is like read out whatever you've written, like out loud.
Yeah.
You look wild just doing it to yourself. That's fine. It has you looking crazy most of the time, doesn't it? And just see how it feels. Like if it doesn't feel like something you would say, probably it's not aligned.
Yeah, that's what I do with my introductions when I write them out. I always read them out a couple of times because sometimes it just doesn't flow and
so
it doesn't sound like me. So then you just change it.
Everything about your work and your business and what you're making, but just see how you can bring a bit more of you into it, whether that's your voice or your face or just your tone of voice. Also within that, how can you share with people kind of perhaps what about your work makes you a bit unique? I'm sure every member of your community, they all, might make cakes, but they all might do it in a different way. Someone's USP might be the ingredients that they use. Another person's might be maybe the, type of process that they follow. Never assume that people know those things. What makes you different, you have to actually put it out there so people know those things.
Yeah.
What makes you different? For me, it's a really intentional choice to make sure that my values and my approach and my personality come into everything. Because I know those are the things that turn someone from going, oh, that's just that business strategist, there's a million of those, to like, oh, no, that's Alice, the business strategist that does it that way. And then I think the second step, which I mentioned that also can work on top of that, then is looking for a little bit of that personal edge. And the biggest thing I'd say with that is that doesn't need to mean that you become, an influencer overnight. It doesn't mean sharing everything. There is a huge amount of my life that I don't share. But if you really just pick a couple of things, let people in, you'll find it really helps people to kind of build that relationship with you. And I think it's just trying to stop that feeling, isn't it? Of like, oh, I'm a business, so I need to show up in a certain way. Actually, you're human beings and people are buying from you. So the more you bring you into it, the more they're going to build that relationship.
Perfect. Perfect.
And don't hide behind your cakes. Do you notice your community do that?
Yeah.
They're like, just look at my cake, not me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've stopped making like big cakes recently. I've got a little cake shed stuck to the side of my house, put cakes in it every week. People come and leave money and take cake.
Oh,
this is kind of
so wholesome.
And this is kind of my new thing. And I've been putting that out on Instagram, and it's just like sharing like just how to package them and me setting the cake shed up every week. And I have seen more success with me doing little bits and pieces like that than I've ever done with a 6-tier wedding cake. And I think it's just because it's me going, well, I'm learning this because this is new to me. I'm just cutting a cake up. That's how I cut it up. And it's just a different, for me, it's a complete mindset shift on beautiful 6-tier wedding cake to this is me in my kitchen cutting cake.
I love that though. It's memorable though, isn't it? I think we think, oh no, gosh, yeah, I've got to do it a certain way. But actually, if you do something that's a bit different, that's what's going to make you stand out.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a revelation this year for me, Instagram. I've gone from 2,000 followers for about 6 years to about 28,000 followers. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
I love that as well. People so get into their heads as well of like,
wow.
Oh,
I didn't know I had that many.
Just before this, and the question was, the Instagram growth wave has died. So where do we go now? And I'm like, where are we getting this narrative from? Like, it's so, with any platform, it's so unhelpful to make decisions before we've even tested them. You know, go, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think I always say to my clients, and I think they've just given up now because they know that I'll say this, is like, do not come to me and say that's not going to work when you haven't given it the action to prove that it could work. Yeah. You are very welcome to do it and then come and moan about it not working. But if you haven't done it, you're not in a position to moan. And I just think that's amazing. And I wonder, Bronya, if maybe part of what you did there as well is it sounded like you kind of stopped thinking, what should I post?
Yeah.
And you just thought, what would I like to share?
And then that's led to... That was exactly it. I stopped thinking about, I need to be the perfect cake maker. I need to be the perfect cake coach. I need to start. And the other thing is, like, a lot of cake business coaches, they talk about pricing strategies and all that. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about that anymore, because people are hearing it over and over and over again. And let's just cut a cake up and show them. And it's completely changed how I'm doing things and how my audience is actually relating to me. So very happy with it.
You're a great case study.
It was fluke.
Whole episode about that.
There was no strategy on it, I'm afraid to say. It was just...
But I always think though, strategy can also sometimes be so internal. I think, again, we think it needs to be external, but like you know your business well enough sometimes that I think we take the action and then in hindsight you go, oh, maybe there was something in that. Yeah. And it sounds like what you did is you just followed what you found interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I got fed up of being the cake maker and just got on with making cakes, which was the difference.
Oh, that's so good. Love that.
Right, sorry, enough about me. Let's get back to you.
Not at all.
Is it me? Is it you, Sammy? Is it? You sure? Are you sure?
I think it's you, isn't it?
Bronya knows.
No. Shall I ask it?
How can we build into
Tell
our
us
business?
about your book.
I thought that was you. Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, yes, that's me. Yes. No, let me do it. So Alice, tell us about your book.
I love that. Yes, my book. I mean, I will start by saying it has been the biggest labour of love and not love at times over the last 2 years. So I'm very excited to be able to say to people like, yes, it is almost coming out. So yeah, as we record this, it's coming out next week. It's out on June 20th. It's called The Digital Marketing Handbook. It's yellow, so you can't miss it. Don't ask me why it's yellow when all my branding is black.
I know. Everything. I saw the picture of the front cover and I'm like, what happened to the black and white?
I know. Look, between you and me and the people listening, everything in my life is black. Thank you, Sammy. I'm glad.
Because you like monochrome, don't you?
Kidding. What I will say, big learning curve. When you work with a publisher, I don't know what this looked like for you. It's not really your book. Don't get me wrong, I love it. The inside is fully me, but it's been really interesting doing something where like, oh yeah, it's not my project and my thing. So yeah, that's where the yellow came from, and it was
But do you love the look of it now? Now you've seen it, or would you have done it differently?
I tell you what, I love the inside, and I would prefer the inside to look great than the outside. So it's a really interesting book inside. It's lots of like diagrams and photos and coloured sections and graphs and what else. And I really love that. I couldn't stand it just being like words and words and words and words. So sorry if you heard that. I just dropped something on the floor. Right. That was good. But yeah, I'd say the outside, I love it because it's my book. I feel, and I'm not a parent, so if this offends people, they can come and moan to me. I feel, you know, when some people have a child and you look at it when it's a baby and they just kind of look like potatoes, but then they say, isn't it the most beautiful thing ever? I think that's how I feel about my book. I'm like, it's beautiful, but I'm like, I think it's beautiful because it's my book. It's my baby.
Yeah.
So it's a real tangent. And if my publisher's listening, then I love you guys. I'm so sorry. I do think it looks all right.
Hey, you're talking about your book. That's all your publisher needs to know. You're talking about your book.
All PR is good PR. That's what they've told me.
So you say you've taken 2 years to write this, but I did watch your Instagram when you literally sat down and knuckled down and typed. Like, I can't remember how many words in how many days you did, but it was like you were laser focused on it. Is that how you work? Is that what you do? Or is that just that was the only time slot you had to get it done?
I think that is the way I work. Yes. So I did. It's a good correction, actually. It's 2 years from when I first got approached about the book to publishing it. It was 5 days to write it, which I don't say with pride. I don't think that was a smart idea. But I do know, in answer to your question, that is how I typically work. Right. And I notice a lot of business owners are the same. You know, we're deadline oriented. Yes. We tend to work in sprints. We're not constantly at this level of output. I think we often mirror nature.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have these like peaks of activity, and then we have these troughs where we kind of step back and maybe have a bit of a rest. And I definitely notice my business best works in that way. Like I push, you know, next couple of months I'll be really, really stretching and pushing, and then I'll take a real step back and kind of take a moment. So I would definitely do it that way again, but I probably would maybe give myself like 2 weeks instead of just like 5 days, because it was quite intense. And I definitely handed in a first draft that I was like, could have done with another few days to just like check this over. But yeah, I did 50,000 words in 5 days, which it sounds like a lot, but when you turn your Wi-Fi off and you're motivated by a publisher waiting for an email on a Friday at 5 o'clock with your first draft, you kind of get it done. So yeah, first draft was quite intense. And then obviously it was not obviously, because I didn't know this. I had to do a lot after that point. I sent it off, and you might have seen that if you saw it on Instagram, I was really like celebrating, I've written my book. And then I got an email from my publisher, must have been about an hour later, being like, okay, here's all the things you need to do next. And I was like,
no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm having a weekend off.
Wow.
I was literally like glass of wine in hand at this like health club, like, oh, I've made it. And then it was crashed down to reality. Didn't last long, that high. It was quite intense.
So tell us about the book. What is in the book? What's it about?
Yes, so it's called the Digital Marketing Handbook, and it's does what it says on the tin book. It's a practical guide to marketing your business, and my real intention with it was for it to be no fluff, really actionable, lots of examples. So again, similar to how I feel about strategy, I don't want people to read the book, I want them to use the book. So it kind of covers all the key areas around building a marketing strategy. So everything from like the foundations, setting your goals, brand identity, figuring out who your kind of audience are, right through to kind of the practical, what platforms to be on, what content to create, how to take the messy action, measuring metrics. I won't bore you with the list of chapters, but yeah, most topics you could imagine linking to online marketing are hopefully in that book. And yeah, my hope is that people read it and just go, great, that was what I needed to go and take a bit more action.
Yeah, I definitely think that is something that I would be more interested in looking at rather than sitting and reading a book.
I don't know. Sometimes, if people recommend like business self-help books and things like that, it's not bedtime reading, is it? Let's face it.
They can be a bit intense. I find that they get really existential sometimes as well. They make me kind of it's a bit too much. I'm like, can you just tell me how to do something? Like, what am I doing about this?
Don't give me the MBA in a book. Just tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly that. Because it's, we're busy, right? We don't. I don't know about you. I don't read business books for pleasure. No. I'm not looking forward to reading business books. I'm looking to them to do something. Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
No. Yeah. I quite often listen to them as audibles, so they're on in the background. But sometimes I notice I completely zone out.
I totally get that. Even when I was recording my audiobook, I think I zoned out at times. Yeah.
Oh, you've done an audiobook as well. Is this to go with this book?
Oh, she's on it now. Because obviously as cake makers, we don't get a lot of time to sit and read, but we're always in the kitchen on our own. We have to have something to listen to. So.
Yeah, I listen to lots of audiobooks, self-help podcasts and things like that.
Too many hours of my voice, but it was one of the things that when they offered me the book deal, first thing I asked, I was like, "Is it going to be an audiobook?" And I think they were a bit like, "You're writing a book, you get that? Like, it's not really about the audiobook." But I think because I love podcasting, I was like, I know that's similar to you, Sammy. I love that kind of medium. So it was fun to record.
Yeah. And a lot of the books I have got on audiobooks are men, and no offense to men or anything. Your voice is kind of, more interactive and more enthusiastic. So I'm gonna enjoy listening to that.
Like listening to it the whole time and editing. He had stopped me a few times. He was like, "You're getting a bit shouty." He was like, "You're really passionate about this." And I was like, "I'm so sorry."
That's enthusiasm. It's not shouty. It's just
I'm just energetic. And I kept trying to ad lib, and he'd be like, "Read the script, please."
That's good.
Read the script. Yeah, you're not really allowed to we kind of understandably, but I was like,
really?
I just thought of a really good thing. Can't I add that in? He was like, "You should have written it. You can't just add it." I was like, "Oh, okay. That feels wrong." Fine.
Maybe there should be the sort of like the extra, the audio plus version. Yeah.
I'll do a private one just for the two of you. I'll send that over.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it would be very actionable or helpful. Probably a few extra.
Yeah.
It'll be enjoyable. That's the main thing.
And that's what we're here for, right? Just a bit fun. I love that.
Yeah.
She's awful. No. Oh, she gets so into it. This is the problem.
How can you,
I love it.
Yeah. So, I love it when I really enjoy the podcast because you can tell I just lose complete concentration. So, if we, how can we get to see you? Because I know your book tour is nearly sold out. How can our listeners work with you or anything like
Sammy,
that? It'd be amazing to meet you.
I'm not going to regret saying that. I'm actually very, very dull offline. I think I really bring the best parts of me online. And then I think without me being I'm like, probably a bit disappointed. Yes, there's lots going on around the books. I'm doing my own book events in London, Manchester and Edinburgh. Edinburgh and London are sold out, but worth keeping an eye because they're free tickets. So I'm sure there'll be people last minute that can't come.
Yeah.
And Manchester still has a couple of tickets left as we record this. So always worth checking. It's all on my website at alicebenham.co.uk/book. And then really, really exciting. There's quite a few events across the country that I'm speaking at. So I think there's one.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think there's Brighton, Bristol, Lincoln, and then Croydon. So those are all linked as well on my social media. And just come and follow along. I've got hundreds of podcast episodes that people can listen to as well.
Yeah, I did notice. I said to Bronya earlier because I was just having a flick through because I don't know how many episodes you've done since this one because there were more, but I've written down episode 241. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
That's a lot of podcasting.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are on 127.
Yeah,
I know.
But it ranks up quickly though, doesn't it?
It does.
I bet when you begun, if you thought 127, you'd think, my gosh, that's loads. But like once you're kind of in the rhythm, it just...
Yeah, when we begun, Sammy hoped I'd forget about it. So.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I just don't want to do this. It's not my cup of tea.
127
but here we are.
Later, here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think you need that dynamic. Someone that's a bit more reluctant, someone that's kind of bringing the energy. It works. Yeah. I love that. And now Sammy's here having so much fun that she forgets questions. So, I mean, Sammy, look at you now.
I know. That's terrible.
How else can we work with you? Because you've got your podcast.
You do one-to-ones as well.
Is there anything else that... And you have done workshops as well in the past, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. Throughout the year, there's often kind of workshops, strategy days. I do a lot at the start of each quarter, kind of helping people plan the quarter ahead. So always just worth keeping an eye on. My Instagram is usually the best place to see what's going on there. And then actually within July, I'm going to be opening the doors to my marketing program, which is called Stop Guessing, Start Growing. It's specifically for service-based businesses, because I really think the more actionable and specific the advice can be, the better. So it's a really kind of practical course around how to sell services, basically straight to the point, not, how you can have a following, but like, how do you actually build an audience that then buys from you? So that will be something people can see again on my website or Instagram. And there's always bits and bobs coming up, so always worth keeping an eye. And if anyone ever thinks of anything that they want me to do, then I'm always all ears for that. Quite happy to.
And are you taking August off this year? Is that because you normally you are?
Yeah, I will be off over August, which I think I was thinking in the run up to it. I was like, I don't know if I need it off this year. I had a bit of a kind of slowdown in Feb, and I was like, I feel okay. And then now, as the book kind of tour and stuff is all in, I'm like, yes, we are going to need to be off and just stare at a ceiling for 4 weeks.
Oh, sounds like heaven.
How did the two of you navigate time off with your businesses? What do you do?
To be honest, I think because our business is quite seasonal, so we naturally, so summer is obviously the crazy time, wedding cakes, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of dies down. So there is like a natural die down. And then January, no one eats cake in January. Just, everyone's on diets and at the gym in January. So that's kind of a natural, it just kind of happens.
That's nice. Yeah. So you can follow that rhythm. And I think it's good to let yourself follow it, isn't it? Don't spend January worrying you're not busy.
Yeah, panicking. Yeah. And that's what I used to, when I had my shop, I was like, oh, no one's coming in. It's like, but it'll be fine. Easter will come. Yeah. It'll pick up.
Well, February, it all kicks off again with Valentine's.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I have planned this year to go to France. I'm going to do a France tour for a month, but I'm going to incorporate bits of podcast in it along the way.
She's going to go and eat her way around France.
Yeah.
And the podcast listeners can hear that journey unfold.
Yeah. Hear me munching croissants.
Get very jealous, I'm sure, as they're listening. Well, that would be amazing. You should do some content, Sammy, around cakes in France.
I know.
Bring people in.
Sammy and content is a whole other conversation. Yes.
Yeah, but I know the thing is, we've done this podcast for so long now. I know how to do it. I'm a member of a club. I get a calendar each month. I know how to do it. It's just me. I've got to do it.
You have.
Yes.
Do you know why you want to do it? Like, is there motivation there to achieve the end goal?
Yeah, I want people to buy my cakes and go, wow, you're amazing.
But people do buy your cakes. That's the point. People, and quite often I find it hard to get hold of Sammy because she's so busy making cakes.
Yeah.
So
I do think there's something to be said of sometimes when the motivation isn't that strong, it is, understandably really hard to take the action. And actually sometimes when you don't need marketing, you're existing now without making that effort. Our brains are smarter than us. They're able subconsciously to go we want to do that thing, but we know deep down that we could keep doing what we're doing now and it's kind of working.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I haven't done my emails today, but I can see there's emails going, hi, we want cake.
So good.
But she didn't need Instagram and TikTok. She doesn't need it.
Yeah, well, I could be so much better if people were coming to me going, wow, I saw your cake and
I would like to pay double the price what you normally charge for it.
Yeah.
You want it so much.
Because I've had some really good commissions recently. I've been up to London and delivered cakes to the centre of London to pretty prestigious clients and things like that. So, I should put it out there.
Mm-hmm. Even if there's a start, you just see the goal is document. I think we can feel so overwhelmed if I need to have this all singing, all dancing content plan or whatever else. Even if you just made sure that everything you're doing, you show. So just snap a photo. Even if you just did a daily, here's what I've made today or here's what I'm doing today. Just keep that up, start building it up. Or just send new photos to Bronya and then make Bronya just press post.
We did try that for a while, but I'm not very good at sending photos either.
She's a hard client. She's a very hard client.
Yeah.
She's a tricky client.
But hey, I mean, I do genuinely think sign of a great business, if you can exist, I'm obviously all for marketing, but actually I think marketing is a tool, and you wouldn't get every tool out your toolbox just for the sake of it, to feel like you're doing everything. I think actually being able to exist without it is a good thing. It's just then working out, if you're adding it in, what's the why? Because if it's not a strong enough reason, understandably, you're not going to really want to do it.
That's true.
There you go. Look, you've had your own personal one-to-one with Alice.
Yeah. I know.
Thank you.
I like you, Alice.
This has been my favourite podcast of the day. I'm having a lovely time.
Thank you so much for coming and chatting to us. All the best with your book. I have got my copy on pre-order already, so I will be waiting for that.
And I will be listening on audiobook. Roll on the 20th.
Sammy's ready to go. No, thank you so much for having me. I don't think I've ever laughed and smiled so much in a podcast interview, so thank you.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
So joyful.
We don't do it, we're not serious about these things.
No. But where can we find you on your socials and things like that?
So Instagram's kind of my main hangout, and that's just Alice_Benham. And then my website's where kind of people can see everything. Book events, any programs, one-to-one. So that's just Alice Benham.
Yeah, you're really easy to find, actually, when I checked you out.
Hopefully Alice Benham's come on the scene, because I think I've got a monopoly on that name right now, but we'll have to see.
Well, they'll just have to struggle.
Partner, I was like, when we get married, no chance I'm taking your last name. I've got strong SEO.
Yeah,
you're not
stick with
it. No, I'm glad. And I always love, for me, everything's all about kind of people and connections. So if anyone's listened to this and I love getting a DM or just saying hi, so would love to meet more of your community, and I just appreciate you having me on to have a chat.
Well, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. So Alice may be my new best friend.
Right, I'm going to confess that I was a little intimidated before we talked to Alice, because she's young, she's got her shit together, she's successful, and I was like, oh my god! And then we talked to her. How lovely is she?
Yeah,
and she has got her shit together, and she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
but she's so nice. She's so good.
Yeah. I'd definitely go and see her.
Yeah.
In one of her thingies.
Yeah. And she genuinely cares, and she genuinely wants people to do well, and she genuinely.
And what she says makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Alice.
Right. Okay. It's time for product of the week. And it's Bronya's turn to go first today.
Right. I am going for, I think this is more visual. It's going to be quite difficult to try and describe this, but let me get them out of the packet. Right. So I bought these on Amazon. I'm going to do the school fair in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And also I'm going to put these in my cake shed as well. Mm-hmm. They are little aluminium baking trays.
Oh, they look like sardine trays.
Yes, that's exactly what they look like. I'm not going to put fish in them, though. I'm going to put cake in them.
Cake in them.
But they're probably 5 inches long by about 1.5 inches wide.
Oh, do you know what I'd like in one of those?
Go on.
Coconut and raspberry cake. That's what came to mind.
But they also come with a lid that's as high. So it's like a little, I can't put it on there, but it's a little plastic lid that's as high as the thing. So you can put buttercream in it.
That's really cool.
Because quite often we get like these aluminium things, because I've got some other ones, some aluminium trays.
And it's a flat lid.
It's a flat lid.
Yeah, which isn't any good for us.
Decoration. But the actual lid is as tall as the tray. So you can put decoration on it. And it's covered, so you can have it out on a stool.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about people coughing and sneezing.
Yeah.
And flies landing and things like that.
Yeah.
So I bought Amazon. Sorry?
Or drying out.
or drying out, so that it's all completely contained. I bought them on Amazon. I only bought a pack of 20, and they come in, the ones that I've got gold. So I've got gold and like a light blue, but you can get them in lots of different colours, and you can get round ones, so they're like cupcake size, with the big tall lid as well. And they come in lots of different colours. I just bought them on Amazon. I got a pack of 20, and I paid £7 for a pack of 20. Which obviously I will then cost into my actual price when I charge for them. But I would say it's probably about the equivalent of 2 cupcakes in there. Yeah. But they're just really good for like fairs, markets, or even if you're doing like a dessert table or that sort of thing.
That's a nice thing. Yeah.
Birthday cakes, if you were doing like things for birthday cakes for kids to like party bags and all that sort of stuff, because they've got the lids on, you're not having to worry about it.
You could wash it out and reuse it.
Yeah. I mean, they do say they're reusable. I mean, obviously my customers will take them away, but then they could reuse them, definitely.
Yeah.
They could be reusable. I reckon they go through the dishwasher quite easily. But obviously, if you are selling them at fairs and markets, you will need a label with all your ingredients on, because it is technically a sealed package. So, but that's me. What's you got?
It's my turn. So, I've got loads of these. Different brand. Lots of different brands. Lots of different shapes and sizes. But this one is my favourite one. It's a Culpit petals and leaves veining board. So it's the green ones that you can get. And it comes with a stay fresh mat as well. So you can cut your petals out, and whilst you're working on one, you can put your stay fresh mat on the top to keep it clean and moist so it doesn't dry out. It's got a flat side, so I find these really handy for my kit box.
Yes.
So, you're popping off somewhere and you might have to make a repair. You can take this along with your little tiny rolling pin. It's non-stick.
Because, that's the thing, is that the sugar paste or flour paste doesn't stick onto them, does it?
No, that's right.
What do they make that out of to make it non-stick? Why can't they make surfaces like that? Why can't they make a whole kitchen out of that? Anyway, probably very expensive.
So these are my favourites. So one side's flat and the other side is grooved. And it's also got the little holes in it so that you can do the Mexican hat ones. Flowers.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a white one. I've got white ones.
I've got loads. I've got white ones. I've got creamy coloured ones.
Right.
It depends on my mood, but this is my go-to.
But they're about A5 in size, aren't they?
They're 20 centimetres by 12 centimetres.
Okay.
Because I looked it up. But I went onto Zoe's Fancy Cakes website, and you can get them on there, and they're £18.95. So these ones are a little bit more expensive than the cheaper ones you can get off eBay, but the non-stickness of it they're brilliant.
It's
really
it's worth the money. Thing is that you feel like it's a lot of money for such a little thing, but they are so
it's an
useful.
investment. Yeah, I use mine. I use mine all the time.
You can get big versions of them, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely massive ones.
Yeah, very expensive, but the dream.
I would get one of those, but because I work from my dining room table, I like to pack everything away. So it's quite clunky, the big ones.
Yeah,
whereas I've got my mat.
My decorating stuff in my toolbox. Yeah. So anything that I have has got to fit in a toolbox. Otherwise, I can't have it.
Yeah. You can get bigger ones.
Yeah. Very nice. And the non-stick thingy on top as well. They're good. Yeah.
I'm sure that has a technical term.
I remember buying one separate and not being able to find it because I couldn't find what I was looking for because I wasn't asking for the correct thing.
Yeah, it's a high quality, food safe plastic board, and it's perfect for rolling sugar paste, fondant, and much more, and also for veining flowers. The board has one flat side, one groove side. It comes with a stay fresh mat, so you can keep your paste from drying out. Stay fresh mat, stay fresh mat, stay fresh mat.
Perfect.
There we go.
Lovely. Right, that is us done.
Okay.
Alice's book, as you're listening to this, will be out, I think, Thursday this week, if you're listening when it comes out. I have mine pre-ordered. I'm very excited to get that. Although I might listen to the audio. That's the sort of thing that
Yeah. And her voice is really nice.
Oh, it is, isn't it? It's just calming.
Yeah.
Calming but assertive.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much for a lovely podcast. It's been a pleasure chatting to you today.
If this is your first time, don't forget to follow, like, review, and dance, of course, obviously. I always have to throw that
Who doesn't dance in their kitchen? That's what I want to know. Who of our listeners doesn't dance in their kitchen?
Yeah, I dance.
I always dance in my kitchen.
Yeah. I always get my funk on. I love Friday afternoons and on the radio because it gets a bit funky and get on down.
Tell you what, actually, this would be interesting. Share your favourite dancing tune with us.
Yeah.
And then we could do like a playlist on Spotify that we could share to people.
Yeah.
So give us your favourite kitchen dancing tune.
Oh my God, what a good idea. I'm going to start a new Spotify playlist.
And we'll put all yours on it and then we can share it so we can all enjoy one another's dancing tunes.
Yeah. Okay, well, on that note, thank you and bye.